it's kind of fun, but I can't recommend it as a really good movie. I think it's got some pieces of a good movie in there, and maybe with a different cast, it might have been a good movie. But it really kind of harkens back to his earlier thrillers.
Yeah.
That's the only one in the last 25 years that I might say is
decent. Kind
of decent. Everything else is garbage.
That's funny that you bring that up. I just caught like a quarter of that the other day. It was on TV.
Yeah, it's been playing on HBO or Cinemax or something lately. I watched it on there a couple months ago. I hadn't seen it in probably since it opened up in the theater.
When did that come out? Like 2002?
Yeah, 2002. 2002.
What happened to Rebecca Romijn? Is she's not working anymore?
No, she pops up every now and then. She popped up in the last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, okay.
I know that she was on the TV show, I think called The Librarians, on TNT for a while. They had a few seasons.
Is that the magic kind of show?
I think you are referring to The Magicians.
Oh, maybe.
On Sci-Fi.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Which I was never into, despite a lot of people telling me how good it was, but I watched a few episodes and could not get into it.
Yeah.
But I think The Librarians is what Rebecca Romijn Stamos's
been up to.
TV show was. Yeah. Other than that, I don't really know, but I know that she was in the last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah, The Librarians. Says that they did 42 episodes, so that's quite a few.
Okay.
Those are my recs.
All right.
What do you got, if you have any?
So I've been watching a lot of stuff lately, but I have two that have been that kind of stick out to me. Since we already talked about Wonder Woman, I rewatched the original Wonder Woman film. I think Cartoon Network the other night did their world premiere for it for cable, and so I watched it from beginning to end. And I don't think I've seen it all the way through since I watched it in the theater. So, and I'll say this: I think that's as far as the DCU, that's one of my top, like one of the best films I think they've done as far as their DCU, like currently, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I loved it, and it was fun, and I forgot how well done it is, and love Chris Pine, their chemistry, him and Gal's chemistry is great. That's kind of like even though the first Captain America is not very good, I feel like it's very, that's what it felt like, is like their version of the first Avenger.
Yeah. Only a much better movie.
Yes.
In Wonder Woman, that is. Wonder Woman's a much better movie than the first Avenger.
Definitely. And then my second one, the other night I watched Savages again for the first time in a long time, and really enjoyed it. Again, talking about directors, Oliver Stone for me is a hit or miss guy, but this is one that I enjoyed. I think it's good. It's got a lot of good performances. Specifically, Benicio del Toro looks like he's having a fucking blast on this set.
He's got that weird kind of half mullet going.
Yeah. Yes.
I just rewatched that probably over the summer, so maybe about 6 months ago, and it was a lot better than I remembered. I probably only saw it one time and was kind of lukewarm on it.
Oh, okay.
And then rewatched it probably over the summer. I was like, oh, you know what? It's pretty solid. I think the core three are okay.
Yeah.
But I think like Travolta is pretty good in it. Benicio del Toro is pretty good in it. Salma Hayek's really good in it.
And it's definitely, when you watch, I feel like when you watch it, if you're familiar with Stone's work, it's very much what he does. You know, as far as the style and the way of the film, like, how do you say, like the colorist and everything. It's
yeah. Yeah, he went a little late period Tony Scott.
Yeah, exactly.
With Savages.
I was gonna say, yeah, messing with the color stock and stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's definitely a decent film. It's entertaining, and that's what movies are all about, right?
Yeah. How come Oliver Stone won't make another movie?
I don't know. What was his?
I think Savages might be the last one that he made.
Really?
His last feature movie. I think he's done a documentary or two, but I don't think he's made a feature since Savages. And even then, I don't think he had made a feature. No, I take that back. So the Wall Street sequel was in there.
He did that one?
The movies that he made post Any Given Sunday are very hit or miss.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know if... Because a lot of directors do that. Like Spielberg is extremely hit or miss these days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, The Post is fantastic, but that was probably the best movie that he made in a while. Because Ready Player One is trash.
You didn't like it at all?
Fucking hate Ready Player One. Like, if I wanted to watch somebody play a video game for 2 hours, I would do that. Instead, I went to the theater and sat there and watched a video game for 2.5 hours. Fucking waste of my time. Also, like, we get it. The guy can reference stuff. Okay. It just plays up on nostalgia. I have no idea why Spielberg made that movie. But, I mean, he made The Post, which is fantastic. Bridge of Spies, which is really, really good. And, everything that he made since Munich was not good. To varying degrees. And, we just talked about De Palma. Had a big drop-off. Stone. I think that Scorsese is someone who has avoided that, luckily.
Yeah, actually, yeah. He's one of the older gentlemen who I feel like has been the most consistent in his work,
Yeah. So it's weird, but Oliver Stone's like one of those guys that I'm a fan of, and he really hasn't made a whole lot lately. And I don't know if that's just because nothing interests him, or because, everything changed and everyone wants shitty comic book movies now. or what. But, I want to see these guys still making movies, and making movies specifically for the theater.
This week.
All right.
We'll move into main focus.
Yeah.
All right, so this week we're talking about Batman Returns. It's PG-13. It came out in 1992, and it runs at 2 hours and 7 minutes. Directed by Tim Burton, written by Daniel Waters, starring Michael Keaton, Michelle Pfeiffer, Christopher Walken, Pat Hingle, and Michael Murphy. The film follows Batman in his fight against the Penguin, while Selina Kyle comes to terms with her new identity as the Catwoman and seemingly plots her vengeance against the evil tycoon Max Schreck. Batman Returns was Warner Brothers' follow-up to the original Batman film, which was released in 1989. This put some extreme pressure on the studio, as the first film was not only one of the first big studio films to have comic book origins, but also was extremely well received. Although Tim Burton had no plans to return to the director's chair initially, he eventually agreed to return if there was changes to the then screenplay, and because the studio granted him even more artistic control due to the success of his first Bat film. This was a big deal, considering the director only had 2 films under his belt at the time. These titles were Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Beetlejuice. Batman Returns is an exceptional film as it lives up to its counterpart in almost every way, something that wouldn't happen until arguably Nolan's The Dark Knight sequel. Returns manages to ride a fine line between camp and class with its grimy and gothic tone. This indifferent off-the-wall style caused some backlash with parents during its release, which even caused McDonald's at the time to discontinue their toy line promotions of the film, if you can believe that. The parents' outrage against the dark subject matter ultimately would cause a downward spiral for the Batman universe for the next few years. However, Burton himself had said he believes the sequel was much lighter and fun than his first attempt. In my humble opinion, although the film is dark, the Batman character is supposed to be immersed in a world of darkness. Otherwise, what's the use of the caped crusader? Overall, the blistering character development coupled with some beautiful cinematography and set design makes Batman Returns worthy of sticking around for years to come. With that being said, Michael Keaton is slated to reprise his role as Bruce Wayne for the new Flashpoint movie. Thank you.
That was good, man. That was a good little intro to the film.
I tried, but so what do you want to get into, man? Or what? Why do you think? I don't know if you already answered this, but what made you want to pick this specifically as our Christmas movie for this year?
Well, I mean, for starters, of course, it takes place at Christmas.
Yep.
And which I like movies that take place at Christmas because it's always fun. That's why, you know, especially talking about Shane Black last year and a couple years ago with The Long Kiss Goodnight, which would have been a great pick for a Christmas movie if I had been thinking. But it's kind of like I like seeing these movies take place in a Christmas setting, you know, an action movie in a Christmas setting, or, you know, in the case of Batman Returns, a more comic book movie in a Christmas setting with the lights and the snow and all that. It always really fascinates me. So that's obvious. That's the obvious choice as to why I wanted to do this. But also I think that Batman Returns is kind of underrated.
Yep.
You know, and I love the original, don't get me wrong. The original came out at a pivotal point in my life where I was at that right age, where I just was absolutely obsessed with it. And then watched Batman Returns and loved it, and kind of wavered on it for a little bit in my early 20s. And then went back and watched it probably about my mid-20s and was like, no, this movie's great. It's kind of dark, but as you mentioned in the intro, like, it's also got like some pretty goofy stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because the tone is still dark, that people don't really pay attention to the goofier stuff in it. They're just more focused on, you know, it's the Penguin's plan is pretty sinister.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just, oh yeah, I want to just, you know, destroy the city. It's, I want to kidnap and then murder the firstborn children of Gotham City. I mean, he pivots to destroying the city later on when, you know, his plan gets foiled. But that plan, that's pretty sinister.
Yeah, when he's like talking about how he's just gonna throw them all in the toxic the toxic waste. Well,
I think that, you know, especially as you mentioned, you know, parents really focused on that, but
I feel like
we'll get into it when we get to the plot.
I wanted to say, before I forget, I feel like this reminds me a lot of what happened with the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which is so solid, and because it was, I guess, too adult for parents. That's kind of why the 2 and 3 are kind of lackluster. They lost the magic, you know. I've
never watched 3. I've only seen Secret of the Ooze.
you dislike 2 so much that you just didn't bother with 3.
Basically, two is it's okay, but yeah, you're right. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is pretty great. But I think